Hi guys, welcome back for another week to our Express Pilates class. My name's Chris, I'm an exercise physiologist and clinical Pilates instructor. In today's class we're going to take some of that work from the mat and take it up into a functional position. A lot of the criticism with Pilates is that it's not a functional exercise. We do it all on our back and then we don't have that transfer to either daily activities or sport-specific movements. So part of what I like to do is start on the mat, start to get your muscles activating and strong, work on that technique, and then take it through a little bit more of a functional position, whether standing, doing some squats, some lunges, and a few other things we'll go through today. So we'll start down the mat and then we'll go from there.
Lying on your back, knees bent, feet together, and the arms out the side. I'm just going to start rolling the knees side to side. You might have noticed I like to start the class with a few knee rolls, particularly when we're starting with lower back and hip work. It's just a really nice way to loosen all those muscles up. We get into the lower back, all the lumbar extensors, which are quite often tight in people, around the side, into our glute med, into our hip flexors, particularly as we get our feet out wide now, separate them out to the sides of the mat, then do that same movement side to side, and that starts to work around the front of the hip as well. So it's just a really nice way to loosen everything up. First off, as the knees go side to side, try and drop your knees as far as you can down towards the ground. Just feel that stretch through the lower back, through the hips. As always today, if anything doesn't feel right, if you feel like it's sort of grabbing or a bit painful or anything else, either shorten the movement, make it a little bit easier, or cut it out altogether. These exercises are designed to be very general, but for most people they're going to be pretty suitable. There's a few people, depending on your type of injury, that it might not be suitable for, and you've just got to listen to your body and see what's right for you. And just one more out to the side, and then we'll come back to the middle. I just want you to set up with your feet hip distance apart again. We're going to be tilting our pelvis forwards and back. We might be able to feel you've got a bit of an arch under your lower back. I want you to tilt your pelvis back to flatten it, like you're trying to curl your pelvis in, and then tilt the pelvis forwards to arch the lower back. And again, tilting back. It's a little bit harder to demonstrate on the video, but you should be able to get a feel for it. That lower back, that space under your lower back flattens out, and then it arches up, flattens out, and arches up. If you want to think of it as if we had a tail. If we had a tail, and what our coccyx is, it is that start of the tail. Our tail tucks between our legs as we tilt back and flatten the lower back. And then our tail goes the other way as we arch the lower back. So think of a tail tucking between your legs as you flatten the lower back. We're just going to do a couple more. It's a really important movement, a really important skill to be able to control the pelvis. If we're unable to control our pelvis, we can't control the rest of the spine, the lower back and the hips. Kind of when we talk about our core, I like to think it all starting at that pelvis and that stability there, and then that outgrowth up and down through the spine. Okay. Coming to a neutral spine, so that's halfway between that flattened back and that arch back. I want your feet about hip distance apart, slightly up towards you. We are going to start to lift up into a bridge now. It's Pilates, called a spine curl. So I want you to tilt your pelvis back towards you. Then start to lift your hips up off the mat, working one vertebrae at a time until the body's straight. The hips are in line with your knees and shoulders, and then we're going to lower the spine back down. Starting with your rib cage, then our middle back, our lower back touches, finally the pelvis. We roll it forward, we let the lower back arch, that's going to be our starting position. We tuck our tail between our legs to go again. We're flattening the lower back, tucking our pelvis under, peeling up one vertebrae at a time, coming to that neutral spine at the top, then rolling back down. I want you to think of this movement as like a bit of Velcro, being peeled up from one end. Your spine peels up off the mat, one bit at a time, all the way up onto the shoulders, to the point where the body's straight, and then rolling back down. See how this feels to start with. See which muscle groups you think are working most. Most people, well, it'll be a combination of three things. It'll either be your glutes, your hamstrings, or your lower back, or all them working in together. Ideally, your glutes are doing a lot of this work. If they're not working, which is very common, your hamstrings and your lower back will do a lot more. If it feels like your lower back's getting tight in this exercise, it's an indicator that your glutes aren't working. If it feels like your hamstrings are cramping as you go to lift up, again, potential indicator that your glutes aren't working as well as they should. We're going to address that. We're going to get those muscles firing, and then we're going to come up into a standing position. Roll the spine back down. I want you lying on your side, head resting on your hand. We're going to go into some clams. We've got our knees bent and our feet together, keeping this hip bone still at the top. So that's just locked in. Just going to lift our knee up and then lower back down. Keep your heels together. As you lift the knee, squeeze through your glute, your bum muscle. I want you to feel that tensing up and then resting back down. If that feels easy enough, try it with your feet lifted. So our feet are up in the air, the heels are still together. We can get a little bit more range of movement in this position, but I want to make sure it's controlled so your pelvis isn't moving at all. Focus on squeezing through that glute. With these exercises, we're going to get the muscles switching on, and after that, we're going to come up into a standing position. Got another 20 seconds here. You should start to feel it fatiguing. We just want to go to that point of fatigue just to make sure there's enough of that muscle firing. It really is just switching the muscle on. We're not going to get a whole lot stronger because we're not really pushing to that point in this exercise. That's what's going to happen in the next one when we come up into an upright position. And on this next one, just lowering down, roll over, same on the other side. I'll swing around here. Again, head resting on your arm, knees bent. Start with the feet down. Make sure your hip bone at the top stays still. Hips one on top of the other, not rolled back, keeping it still, heels together, lifting your knee up and down. You can have your hand on your bum. Feel that muscle switching on each time. With the hand there, it just helps to draw a bit of a connection between the brain and the muscle, so our brain knows exactly which muscle we're trying to switch on. If that feels fine, you can have the feet lifted. It's a really nice position with the feet lifted because it allows us a little bit more range of movement. It gets harder, but we get a lot more out of the exercise in much shorter time. Try and get that knee right up to the top. Got another 20 seconds, and then we're up, standing on our feet. As I was talking about in the introduction, it's all about taking these ground-based, these mat-based exercises into a functional position. We don't do these types of movements during the day, but they're a good way to strengthen the muscles as long as we incorporate it into exercise that we do. A squat, for example, mimics that, getting up and down out of the chair, out of stairs, up and down out of stairs. We want to train those type of movements. This is just our foundation. One more, resting the knees down, resting the feet down. You should feel that muscle fatiguing. Let's come standing up and we'll continue with these same exercises. Okay, now that you've got those hip muscles firing, you should be able to feel them just a little bit stronger. You should still be able to feel that activation there. We're going to go into some squats. Really nice movement to combine all that hip movement into a really functional position. Standing with your feet probably a little bit wider than hip distance, toes slightly turned out. Should be able to feel the weight on your heels to start. We're just going to sit our hips back like you're sitting into a chair, bring the arms forward down to that squat, and then coming back up. Just want to demonstrate from side on so you can see that movement side on. See that hinge, knee, hip, and chest, and then back up. Imagine we've got a chair behind us as you sit down into that squat. Keep your chest lifted. Your trunk leans forward. That's how you're going to stay balanced. We've got that forward lean, but we're keeping the chest lifted. We're not rounding or slumping into it. I like to have the arms out in front. It helps to balance you out so you can get your hips back a bit further. But you can do it with the arms down the side. That's fine. You can do it with the arms across the chest and focus on keeping the chest up. It's a bit harder if we do it that way. In terms of how deep, people often ask, okay, is that deep enough? Really depends on your mobility, your flexibility, on your strength, and then whether or not you've got any injuries. The lower we go, the harder the movement gets. But if you don't have good flexibility, you won't be able to get into a low position without compromising the technique of the exercise. So just going as low as feels comfortable right now. If you're unsure, get someone to check you, someone who kind of knows what they're looking for in terms of having a straight back, in terms of having the knee position, the ankle position. Just going to do a few more here. As you lift up out of that squat, think about your glutes, your bum muscles driving your hips forward, driving that hip forward. If you've got some weights at home, you can make this a little bit harder by holding weights either the sides or up at the shoulders. In today's class, we're just going to do it without any equipment, but if you do want to make it harder, feel free to add that in. Okay, we're going to go into a shorter range. Squat down as low as you can, pulse up 2 inches, and then back down. Holding those pulses up and down 2 inches. Arms can either come at the front or across the shoulders, so make sure your chest stays up. We're going to finish with this movement. Feel those hip muscles working from behind. We've got 5 more pulses. Hold it low each time. 1, 2, 3, 4, and last one. Coming down and all the way back up. Well done, guys. Let's stretch out to finish. Have a deep breath in. Reach your arms up towards the roof. Draw your chin down. Drop the arms down. Hanging the arms forwards. Just rolling the spine down. Hanging forwards. Just a forward stretch, so lengthen out the back of the legs, lengthen out the hips. Holding this position, deep breath in. As you exhale, sink down a little bit further. Take a few more deep breaths in. Sink the shoulders down, let the neck hang. Straighten the knees back as far as is comfortable. Again, just going as far as feels right. 10 more seconds. Deep breathing as you exhale each time, sinking into a little bit further, letting those muscles lengthen. Last breath in and out. And we're going to soften the knees and roll the spine back up. Well done, really nice way to finish off. Get that breathing going, get everything working a little bit harder. Great job today. If you want more information, more videos, head to betterexercise.com.au/resources or check out our YouTube channel for all the latest videos. Well done, have a great day, and we'll see you next week.